Hello, Collective. We are here with the first of the educational experiences of the National Business League Stellantis Black Supplier Development Program. My name is Thais Leverett, Early Career and Onboarding Manager for North America here at Stellantis. It is my distinct honor to introduce you to the topics and the learning objectives of each of the 6 touchpoints of this program. You know, the poet T.S. Eliot said that every moment is a fresh beginning. But the question, however, is the beginning of what? Is it the beginning of the end or the beginning of getting bigger, better, newer, and different? One of the primary goals of this program is to make sure it is the latter. This first touch point provides a foundation for this goal. Black-owned businesses are overrepresented in low-growth and low-revenue industries, but our program wants to make sure that this is not the case for you. Specifically, at the end of this touch point, you will understand the importance and strategic role of growth, explore the different paths to growth, and become aware of methodologies to help you select the best path. And finally, you will understand the components of a growth plan and the process of developing one.
The purpose of this training is to define business growth strategy, what it looks like, and how to implement it. We will provide a focus on linking your business growth strategy, your capabilities, to cash flow and profitability. We will also provide a focus on linking your business growth strategy to your capabilities and something we call enterprise value. We will explain some fundamental approaches to organic growth plan techniques. We will also provide training on business scaling techniques. And finally, we will explain fundamental elements of inorganic growth techniques. Growing your business is really about learning to read the market and to lead the segments of the market areas that you have a read on. Reading the market is about figuring ways in which you can achieve impact in your market areas. You must watch what's changing and identify opportunities and threats. Identify the size of the opportunity. Really, what is the need for your solutions? What are the number of white space opportunities where you could make a unique contribution with your solutions is something that you should be studying the market for on a continuous basis. Define the boundaries of your specific segment of the market. What will you do and what won't you do based on your mission and purpose? This is a very important growth technique. Now, growing a business involves continuous improvement efforts around 3 general types of actions. The first is that you must decide what your strategic position is. Do you have a comprehensive growth strategy that tells you that it's for the masses, or does it tend to be for high-end customers? What's your position? Once you've selected your strategy, the masses or higher-end customers, now you can begin to evaluate that position against your environment, your strategic capabilities, and what you or your investors expect to happen with regard to your business. That's your strategic position. You've got to continuously ask yourself, does your strategy make sense given the business context? Once you have focused your strategic position, now you can begin to think about strategic action. How are you going to organize that action? Are you enabling your people around that action? And are you managing change appropriately in your strategic action? As you are operating in that action domain, you want to keep in mind that there's continuous evaluation of your ability to adjust your corporate level strategies, your operational strategies, and how you're setting direction for your employees to implement those strategies. Define and execute a tactical plan. Once you are on top of your continuous improvement of your strategy, you should define and execute your tactical plan. What's your game plan? How are you stabilizing and defending your current business's position? Are you identifying potential future short-term, mid-term, and long-term positions? Are you stabilizing and defending your core, what makes your business go, and begin to implement your game plan? You also have to learn how others are responding to moves that you make so that you can position yourself to move at specific intervals that grow your business in the context of the environment that you're competing. Now, Bill Gates, a famous entrepreneur in our country, a co-founder of Microsoft, and now the co-chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, made an interesting statement that I thought was worthwhile sharing with you. He says that most people overestimate what they can achieve in the year one of their business and underestimate what they can achieve in 10 years of their business. In today's fast-paced world, you need to continually recalibrate your vision and strategy based on what's changing. I think what Bill's trying to say to us is that you can get a lot done if you're continually reevaluating your ability to improve on your strategy, particularly after your business gains some maturity. So, what does your strategy tell you to do year one? What does your strategy tell you to do in the third year? What does your strategy tell you should be doing by year 5? And what is your strategy saying that you should do in a 10-year plan? Are you annually recalibrating those plans and basing them on market conditions and changing? If so, then you're striking the right balance in terms of your corporate planning. By the way, make sure that when you start your business, you have an exit strategy and evaluate what that exit strategy should look like every year of your business. We want you to remember a very important principle about running your business. Remember, profit is not something to add on at the end. It's something to plan for in the beginning. That ability to plan profitability will stem from your understanding of your strategy, how it attracts resources and builds capabilities required to execute the strategy, and creates value for all your stakeholders. Solid business models should allow you to analyze how your current business makes for losses or whether it makes money. It also should frame opportunities to evolve your current business or launch new ones. Finally, it should identify the assumptions behind your business case and your business plan to enable you to do effective forecasting. As you are linking your strategy and capabilities to cash flow and profitability, be mindful that there are some revenue enhancers that you should be paying attention to and some cost drivers that you need to be paying attention to. Some of the fundamentals, and every business is different, and so your important ones may vary from these, but fundamentally, you always want to be improving your sales productivity, increasing customer loyalty, developing new channels to go to market, and improving your ability to develop new business into your pipeline so that you're continually creating new opportunities to grow. On the cost reduction side, you want to remember that fundamentally, you always want to be looking at your supply chain costs and reevaluating how you can run that most optimally. Second, you want to look for ways to decrease your SG&A costs. And finally, if you have inventory, you always want to fight the battle of reducing inventory costs. Now let's talk about linking strategy and capabilities to value in addition to cash flow. Now, I'm providing you with a simplified cash flow model because fundamentally I want to make sure that you understand that strategy and capabilities creates value. Think about it. If you develop a strategy and you're able to garner tools that make you effective to push that strategy into the marketplace, your value will increase. This will help you drive cash flow in your business. It will also allow you to evaluate what will drive cash flow for new opportunities you wish to pursue as you grow your business. Linking strategy and capabilities to value will lead you to be able to know the difference between your book value, which is typically the value that you could liquidate your business for, and it's represented on your balance sheet, and market value. That's the value that has many more intangibles and is generally what the market believes your business is truly worth. So you have to stop and think and ask, do I understand the difference between the book value of my business and the market value of my business? What will drive valuation of my business to a higher market value? And what future actions do I want to take to promote continuous improvement in driving value into my business? So why is the development of growth plans so challenging? Well, I would suggest to you that it involves three very human kinds of capabilities that we have to think about as entrepreneurs. The first one is analytical thinking. Are you constantly reading the market and being analytical about what's going on so that you can respond to the directional trends that will allow you to grow your business? Second, do you do that with a passion? Do you love doing what you do? And finally, are you utilizing your gut instinct when you're up at night thinking about how to grow your business to make your business more valuable? Now, as you're growing your business, you've got to be mindful of some fundamentals around creating a growth plan. So I'm going to talk a little bit about customers to be avoided. What this particular slide tells you is that there are two primary domains that you develop customers in. One goes to the ability to serve your customers. The second is the attractiveness of those customers. So what you have to be mindful of and avoid is situations where you have a low ability to serve a customer and that customer has low attractiveness. We call customers that fall into that domain time wasters. For those customers that might be very, very attractive, but you have very low ability to serve them, they can be reputation destroyers. So I want you to be mindful of that. You don't want to represent or work as a supplier to customers that are too large, even though they might be very attractive customers, but ultimately they could destroy your business because of the dynamics of economics or just because of the dynamics of working with a customer that you do not have a high ability to serve. On the other hand, creating a growth plan with ideally targeted customers involves operating in those same two domains, but in the first instance, it may be a customer that's not extremely attractive, but you have a very high ability to serve them. We tend to call these kinds of customers cash cows. They generate cash flow for your business, and they are not to be ignored. In addition to that, you may have highly attractive customers that you also have by virtue of your core competency, capacity, and operating strategies, the ability to serve extremely well. And those are where your super success stories come from. So high attractiveness of the customer and high ability to serve, those are your ideal customers. And if you're developing a growth plan, those are the customers you want to target. As you look at your business as a whole, you should be constantly evaluating whether you have prospective reputation destroyers and time wasters, and move away from them and adjust your aspirational opportunities towards super success stories and cash cow type customers. So now you have your super success stories and your cash cows. How are you going to work those customers to grow your business? Well, if they are at the prospect level, the question that you should be asking is, what is the buying process of that particular prospect? Will the target create profitability and long-term growth opportunities? Can you expect that they present a market opportunity and size and spend that's optimal for your product or service? What is their onboarding process? This can be a very important issue in determining whether you have a high ability to serve that particular customer. And remember, you want customers that are both attractive, but that you have a high ability to serve. Can you identify key competitors that you may have to find yourself being compared to when you're approaching customers? Is your product or service a true solution for that customer? If you can't answer that question with a yes, they may not be an optimal customer for your business. And then finally, what is the customer's degree of complexity and cost for you to onboard them in your firm or company? As you're asking these questions, depending on the answers, this can create a process matrix for you to make decisions about whether you're dealing with a reputation destroyer, a time waster, a success story, or a cash cow. So you need to develop tools that will give you the ability to effectively prospect and bring in optimal customers to your business as part of your growth plan. The other thing that is very important is to build relationships once you've made the decision that you're going to move towards building a partnering relationship with your customers. So it's not enough to know the prospect's name. You've got to be working with their purchasing group. We encourage you to also find out whether they have diversity resource people who can help give you wonderful insights into what's going on in that company. If you are making parts or products, you may need to know the engineering division or the end users of the company that you're doing business with. You also want to make sure that you understand their operations, their quality culture, and if you can build a relationship into the C-suite of your customers, now you've made the kind of penetration that will make for a long-term relationship, and you have the great potential for creating success stories with those customers. Let's talk about creating a growth plan. How do you do that with your customers? Well, first, when you're going into a customer and you're having conversation, you want to have in your mind that you're going to share insight with that customer. That means telling a prospective customer something they don't know that they can find helps them run their business better and achieve their key objectives better. In order to provide these kinds of insights with prospective customers, you have to do your homework and really understand their business. Next, it's important that as you engage your customers, that you have in mind what kind of financial impact they will have if they don't work with you. So quantify the numbers. Make sure you can share financial impact that engaging with you as a supplier that they will experience. Make sure that when you are working with your prospective customers, that you develop a clear story of financial impact if they work with you. Make sure you're quantifying the numbers so that you can help them understand. Are they achieving cost savings working with you? What do the numbers say in terms of financial impact? Finally, always remember to tell the prospect what their world would be like if they're not working with your company. They want to know why working with you will bring positive impact to their company. It might be through innovation, it might be through cost savings, it might be through cost avoidance, but you need to be prepared to reveal why your solutions result in those kinds of value to your customers. As you are developing scaling opportunities to grow your business, there are some techniques we want to make sure that you're aware of. First, if you are working on an existing product in an existing market, that should be an element of a comfort zone for you. And that should involve the lowest risk in working with your customers. But when you move your product into new markets, now the risk goes up, and you should be mindful of that. The risk increases even more when you're taking a new product into your existing market. Finally, if you make the decision that you're going to take new products into new markets, now you are in the highest risk activity. So you have to evaluate risk when you're working to scale your business. Very important that you count the costs and the risk in taking these types of actions. I wanted to share with you some attributes of leaders who scale. They tend to be entrepreneurial leaders. I wanted to share with you some attributes of leaders who scale. These attributes tend to exist in entrepreneurs who listen and seek input from others and are willing to shift their outlook depending on what's going on in the marketplace. It tends to be leaders who can quickly deal with problems, weed out non-performers. Leaders who can scale can often see past distractions and establish solid strategic priorities. They can also make concerted, sometimes uncomfortable, efforts for the sake of internal and external stakeholder interests. Another important attribute of leaders who can scale are those who learn to work with and communicate with diverse employees, customers, and other constituencies and stakeholders. Finally, leaders who scale tend to be those who make the company's continuous health one of their top priorities. We're now going to shift to what we call inorganic growth techniques. I hope that you will embrace the notion that in addition to the organic growth techniques that we've just covered, that you will think hard about how your business can engage in what we call inorganic growth techniques. The techniques of inorganic growth are fundamentally three areas. The first one is strategic alliances. The second one is joint ventures. And the third are acquisitions and mergers. Now, many people mix up strategic alliances and joint ventures, so I'm going to carefully walk you through the definition of a strategic alliance versus the definition of a joint venture so that you'll be clear about these very important techniques. Now, party one in a strategic alliance figures out that they can add value to another party and that second party agrees. And so they come together, both adding value in a contract or an agreement between the parties. Now, there are three things you got to do right to have a successful strategic alliance. First is partner selection. You've got to take the time to make sure that that partner is adding value to what you're trying to do in the marketplace. And similarly, you should be able to add value to what they would otherwise do in the marketplace. The second is make sure you have a good contract. So the quality of your strategic alliance agreement is very important. Third, make sure that the management of both partners in the strategic alliance are in constant communication and management of the alliance. I'm going to share with you the basic structure of a strategic joint venture. Unlike a strategic alliance, a strategic joint venture is created when one party joins with another party. They both believe they're adding value, but they literally create a third party entity. And they agree on how they're going to share profits. So I like to say that strategic alliances is somewhat like dating. It gives you the opportunity to get to know a partner, but you haven't created a third party that has its own identity and own interests. In strategic alliances, your agreement can have a term, and when it terminates, you can part ways, and typically you will not have the complexity that you would experience if you've entered into a joint venture where you create a third-party entity that might have employees and customers that now depend on input that both you and your partnering entity have to share. The final technique of inorganic growth are mergers and acquisitions. Now, some of the things that I'm going to say about each of these are true for the other. But typically, a merger is when two companies are reasonably equal, come together, and they're doing it because it's going to make both companies stronger. They're each going to have greater capabilities and higher quality of what they do in the marketplace. So the surviving entity in a merger will typically strip off some of the unimportant elements that both parties have, and it'll produce a bright and shiny new entity that, again, is stronger, more capable, and of higher quality. Acquisitions and their intent are when one company acquires another and really has the desire to control it to get bigger, get better quality, more capability, and more value. And like I said, both of these techniques for growth have similar attributes, but now you've been introduced to mergers and acquisitions. I hope this presentation has been helpful to you. My goal was to help you in developing your business growth strategy. And I want you to remember, start with a purpose that addresses a specific need. You can't do that unless you have learned some things about how to read the market. Consider current events, data, case studies, and trends. And then think through your strategy, and remember, you're always going to be recalibrating it on an ongoing basis. Also remember, link your business growth strategy to the capabilities you're able to secure to generate cash flow and profitability. When you think of your business in a formulistic way, as described in these terms, business growth strategy, capabilities, and cash flow or profitability, and you're linking them, you are not going to make the mistakes that many entrepreneurs make when they forget about the importance of how these elements work together. Also remember, link your business growth strategy and capabilities to how you're developing enterprise value. Because at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're trying to develop wealth as entrepreneurs. And if you aren't mindful of enterprise value, you will make decisions that don't promote it. Be strategic in utilizing organic growth techniques. Remember to develop a toolbox full of tools on how you engage your customers, what you understand about them, how you develop relationships with multiple elements of their companies so that you are thought of as a partner to your customers. Use wisdom in business scaling techniques. Remember what we talked about with respect to the high-risk moves that entrepreneurs are often faced with. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, just important that you understand and you count the costs of those potential risks. Finally, develop agility in utilizing inorganic growth techniques. So you have 4 basic options for increasing capacity and to grow your business: organic growth and inorganic growth techniques. We've covered the organic growth techniques, and we also talked about strategic alliances, joint ventures, and strategic mergers and acquisitions. The final thing I'll say about strategic alliances, strategic joint ventures, and strategic mergers and acquisitions is that they all should be strategic, not just common transactions. Thank you very much. Hi, I'm Lehman Saul. I'm the founding and managing partner of Saul Law Partners. The focus of our business is to grow diverse firms. So we serve minority business enterprises that choose to be certified, women-owned businesses that choose to be certified, and veteran-owned businesses that choose to be certified. We also work very carefully with other diverse businesses like LGBT-owned businesses and businesses owned by people with disabilities. That is our mission, and we will serve you with a passion. We hope that what we have presented today in the way of growth technique education will be helpful to you, and we would welcome the opportunity to serve you if you have a need. Take care.